This video is intended to give you as a teacher a framework of what EnlightenAI does and how it works, specifically for you to be able to assign students writing tasks, for them to write and to get feedback, for them to revise their student work, and ultimately the reteaching or teaching tools that you have available to you in order to close student gaps at an accelerated pace. When you come to EnlightenAI, this is your landing place. You'll have your courses, including any that have been synced with rosters from places like Clever. You have all of your assignments that you have uploaded or created, including ones that you've graded or not graded, most recent to oldest. And whenever you're giving a new assignment to students, you're going to start at the Add Assignment button. When you click this Add Assignment button, there's generally two categories of assignments that you can give. One is classroom assignments. These are assignments that you are giving on your own volition for your classroom only. The other category is district or network assessments. Think of these as assignments or assessments that have been created by your network for everybody to use. A way to keep everybody sort of scoring consistently and giving feedback consistently. I'm going to click on district assessment here, and you'll notice already that on the left-hand side, the organizations tab is filtered, indicating that I'm only looking at content that has been shared by my organization. There's public EnlightenAI content, but with this check mark on, the only content that I'm able to see here is content that has been shared by folks at my school or district for me to consume. You can think of each of these assignments as a trained TA that is ready to help us grade and give feedback on the work for that assignment. So for example, someone has shared with me a social media CER paragraph assignment. That means that there is an assistant trained and ready on the rubric, ready to help me to score and give feedback on that work. Just like any assistant, if I'm going to use this assignment, there's two ways that I can deploy the assistant. One is you can imagine them sitting across the desk from you during your prep period after students have written their work in, for example, a platform like Elluminate, and we hand the TA the work and grade it with them. The other way that we could use this TA or assistant is we can have the assistant work with us in class, where they're circulating the room, they're giving students feedback in the moment, and students are revising on the spot. These are two different workflows, and we'll get into more depth in other videos, but I want to show you a quick look at what these can look like. So for the Elluminate use case, students have written, we as the teacher are going to grade and score with our TA. So someone has already set up the rubric, the assignment details, and given some instructions and training to the AI assistant. So what we are now doing is working with that assistant to assure that they are on the mark and reviewing the final scores, feedback, comments that are going to go back to students before students see them. So here, the TA has drafted feedback, comments, and scores. We will revise, edit, continue until we feel confident that the TA can take the stack, generate and score and give feedback on all of the student submissions, ready for us to approve and finalize before we print out a handout to give back to students or post the feedback back to students in whatever the location that we want to get it into, whether it's a Google Doc, EnlightenAI, or somewhere else. The other route, which I mentioned, is the TA can come with us into class. And in this route, the TA is trained, it knows how to score, it's been given instructions, it knows the rubric. But instead of waiting for us to sit with it during a prep period, the TA is actually going to score and give feedback to students on demand in the moment. So here is what that looks like. The student has actually written their response specifically in EnlightenAI and only in EnlightenAI for this route. And when the student has drafted their first response, they can click Submit. The TA analyzes the student work, drafts inline feedback for the student based on the rubric. It collapses all of that so the student can digest this feedback one comment at a time as they go through their work. And it's also provided some summary feedback and draft scores for the student so they can revise, resubmit, and ultimately improve their score in the same sitting. So this is what we'll get into much more depth in the other videos of this course. And we're excited for you to use your EnlightenAI TA to the fullest extent possible.